We do this quite often, and I find it absolutely ridiculous how anxious I am for everything to go right, technically speaking.
For me, the thing is always that the commissioned computer does not always allow things to happen. So,
but I see now. Do I see correctly, Anna, that we're live on Facebook?
Just one more minute. I think people can already hear us, but I need to see some more things loading just to be all good. Yes, now Elena, you can start. We are live on Facebook. I will be sharing my screen for the presentations also.
Well, thank you. Happy that everything is all right. So let's start. Happy to say hello to all our viewers on Zoom and on Facebook. Thank you for joining us in this last session of the day in Conferințele Școala, the second episode. For those who just joined in, we are Școala, a joint program of 4 Romanian NGOs, Centrul de Resurse în Comunicare, Asociatia Techsoup, Teach for Romania, and Seeding Knowledge Foundation, created with support from Kaufland and in partnership with the Ministry of Education in Romania. I'm Elena Coman from Asociatia Techsoup, and I'm extremely happy and privileged to facilitate today this European conversation. You will see we have with us 3 amazing guests that will help us understand a bit the situation in different European countries and shed more light on how other systems handle this disruption of learning, I might say, due to COVID-19. It is a global crisis, but I think it's also a huge opportunity for all of us to learn from each other and to share solutions and to share ideas. So we're really happy to be able to host this conversation for the Romanian audience. We will have with us both 2 national perspectives, let's say, from 2 countries that we think have handled quite well this challenge of the disruption of learning, the Czech Republic and Estonia, but also the broad perspective of the European Commission over initiatives and joint European issues. So just to reserve more time for the conversation and less time for my very lengthy introduction, allow me to introduce our guests today and ask in advance for their forgiveness if I again misspell anything. I'm happy to say hello once more to Ms. Lucie Gregůrková, Digital Education Specialist at the Department of Innovation and Education at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports of the Czech Republic, Mr. Jakub Kajtman, Policy Officer with the European Commission, the DG Connect F4, a friend of ours working on digital skills and also the favorite Romanian project, Europe Code Week, Mr. Einar Värä, Curriculum and Methodology Advisor at the Foundation Innove in Estonia. Thank you so much for joining us today. Happy to have you with us in this live broadcasting from Bucharest, Tallinn, and Prague. I think we are an equal number in Bucharest and Prague. We have a lot of ground to cover today because we are extremely curious basically about everything that you did in your countries. But I would like to start maybe with a short overview over this last 2 months and how this disruption was felt in each system. And maybe, Jakub, maybe we can go over to how it was felt at the European level. But I would like to start with you, Lucie, because you have witnessed this 2 months from basically the inside of the Ministry of Education in the Czech Republic. You're in a very privileged position. So what would you say were the main issues that you have addressed in your country during this 2 last months?
Hello, first of all, thanks very much for inviting me for this discussion. I'm very excited to be here and to share our views. Regarding your question, I would just like to mention that the schools in the Czech Republic were closed, I think the same date as in Romania, which is 11th of March. And then teachers were basically forced, or they had to go online and start distance learning. That's why the ministry immediately started a web page where we tried to focus on digital resources, some advices, some communication tips and other stuff. Then the first thing that happened was to cooperate with the Czech television, and every working day in the morning they broadcasted real classes. I think every subject had like a half an hour. So these I would mention these two main issues and activities that happened, and then of course other initiatives added. For example, I am really happy to see that NGO like Digital Czech or Czech Digital started also their support for schools, which means that anyone could call to this hotline, and they helped them to connect to do Microsoft Teams or Google Classroom. The same happened with the national project, which did very similar activities, and webinars. That is, we found webinars very strong mean to spread some information. But I would like to mention the main challenge, and this is that the scissors or the gap and disparities widened even more than before. We have a very decentralized system in the Czech Republic, so it's not very easy to just order something. It's not that easy. So we experienced that the gap widened, and the differences are even deeper than before. So that's something we totally have to focus on. So I think that's it for the first question. If you have some more, I'm happy to answer something more.
I had a small follow-up question that you have quite touched upon a bit. What were basically the main type of supports that you have offered teachers during this period? You talked a bit about NGOs initiatives, but what other forms of support were there for teachers in place for this period?
Well, of course, hotlines. This is always the most important thing, to create a hotline where people can call and ask any question regarding the crisis. That's the first thing. Then the webinars, as I mentioned, which is like offering some tips and guidelines. These three things I think are we found the most important. As I mentioned, as we have strong decentralized system, the ministry and the teachers are not subjects or employees of the state, is very difficult to order or to be very mandatory. So that's why the main burden lies on municipalities and regional authorities, which are they establish the schools. So that's why we had to more rely on them. But still, some central support was in progress.
Yeah, a lot of things to cover indeed, like all the ministries during this period. Thank you so much. Well, Einar, Estonia is basically considered to be at the front line of any digital services, and from where we are in Romania, it feels like your country was born ready for this digital challenge. But how would you say your educational system handled this quite fast change?
I would say great. Our teachers, yes, in fact, yeah. Well, if we speak about the crisis and were we ready for the crisis? For the crisis, you cannot be ready for the crisis as it is, because you never know what is the next crisis and what is it about. But you must be ready to act within the crisis and act adequately. So, and I think that from this point of view, our country was ready and was already really in good way. So, and our teachers and our schools and state and parents, they took it as an challenge, not as a problem, as a challenge, as a possibility to make something new. And it was interesting that within the first week, if we read or if we read the titles in the newspapers, so remote learning, it's exciting. So teachers took it as a new possibility. Of course, now we are a little bit tired. 2 months within the same walls, it is a little bit boring and a little bit difficult. But I have to say that yes, we were ready for that.
Thank you. I'm happy that one country was a bit ready, and I'm looking forward to hearing how were you able to prepare yourselves before and after. And just to finish with this broad overview, Jakub, you have this like very privileged view over a lot of initiatives and joint projects that happened at the European level. So what would you say were the main issues, or what would your thoughts are on the project that started to coagulate in this last 2 months?
Yeah, I mean, we've been in touch, of course, with many countries and with people all across Europe. And the first thing that comes to my mind is really that this bottom-up grassroots initiatives that popped up in many countries. You indeed, in Estonia, we've been in touch with people from the startup community who gathered all the education technology startups and offered their services for free to teachers. We've been talking to people in Croatia who told us that the reforms that were on paper for 20 years have happened in 7 days because there was no other way. But in general, I think the grassroots and everybody tried to do their best. I think governments, companies, organizations, everybody's intention was really to react and to adapt to this situation. But if I was thinking when I was preparing for today, I was thinking like about the 5 main challenges or 5 main things that happened. And for me, the first one was the speed of change, because it really the change had to happen immediately. I remember the days when the lockdown started to take place in many countries, and from one day to another, the teachers who were used to for many years just teach in the classroom had to move online. So it was really a lot of improvisation. Nobody was really prepared. Some, of course, were prepared better, some, of course, not. But I think the speed of change was the first challenge. Second, it was the teachers' skills and the support that the teachers were getting, because of course you have teachers who know how to use digital technologies, maybe some of them a little bit less, but still everything was new. The video conferencing, online exams, tests, the relationship with students. So for me, this was the second. Third was the whole idea of learning online, and it all involves already the students and their parents as well. Because now you have the situation when the kids physically stay at home, but they need to focus, they need to follow the courses, they need to do their exercises with their parents or by themselves. So this new reality of learning online, and what I want to stress is that what we understand is that this is not a temporary thing. This will last. Maybe in September, in many countries, kids will go back to schools, but still there will be this element that very likely parts of the whole education will happen online, which will be, of course, we will need to adapt to it, and we will need to be flexible. Fourth challenge that I see is and Lucie already mentioned it a little bit, it's the students' access to technology, because we see that, of course, if you are a kid of a wealthy family living in a city, you probably don't have issues with broadband connection. You probably have your iPad or your computer. But for example, in Romania, we had a webinar 2 days ago, and we had a speaker from Romania, and he said that there is a big part of people living in rural areas, and these people living in rural areas are also very likely to not have all the access, not have the computers, not have the broadband, and then you have all these kids who live in these difficult situation, difficult conditions and they suddenly don't have how to connect online and use this remote learning. So that is definitely a challenge. And I think one thing which is a challenge, and we are now turning it into an opportunity, the last one, is that we need to learn more from each other. And I think this is also what this webinar is about. We need to connect ourselves. It is exactly true that each education system in each country is different and original. And as Lucia mentioned, also within the country, it is sometimes or often very decentralized, and it is, there is not a one fit for all solution. But by working together, by learning from each other, and by exchanging experience as we are doing now, we will be able to improve and to really adapt to this situation. And a bottom line for me and for us also in the Commission is that digital skills are the new must. There will not be, nothing will happen if we don't have the right digital skills, if teachers don't have confidence and the digital skills, and we really need to work on that we have the digital literacy. And this is also what the European Commission President said when she was joining the office last year, that digital literacy needs to be a foundation for everyone and for every European. And I think this is what the situation showed, definitely.
Yeah, you have touched upon a lot of things that we want to cover here, and I will get back to you on this final issue on digital strategies and policies, because I think it's really important, the policy preparedness, let's say, of us all in terms of digital skills. But one thing I think is really important, and one of the reasons we are doing indeed this webinar, is that I think sometimes we kind of feel that every system is special and every problem in every system is special. But actually it might be that some of the problems that we have, other systems also had. Maybe not now, maybe several years ago, but we can learn from that. And I know that Einar has prepared basically an overview of what Estonia did during this time, which I think will be very interesting to see and hear for a bit. So Einar, if you have the slides at hand, we will definitely love to see them.
Thank you. Before I start, I want to mention that, this year was declared by our Ministry of Education and Research as a year of a digital turning year. But in Estonian language, turning and crazy is the same word. So it was meant as a digital turning, but it is a digital turning and digital crazy year. So, but I will start then, and so, okay, here it is. And I put as a title of my short presentation that remote learning as collaboration, because for us, it's not only about IT technology, it's not about computers, it's about collaboration, because as we started from the very beginning, our statement was that we all are in the same boat: teachers, students, parents, state, and we all are in the same information field. We don't know how long will it be, how will it develop, and so on. So only together we are able to handle this situation and handle this period. So that's why we are speaking about so much about collaboration. And we speak about the remote learning, which is not only IT or e-learning, because we wanted to stress that there are other possibilities to study, to learn at home, not only computer. So this was from the very beginning our one of our main ideas. So unfortunately, so I'm afraid that
the click should work, or
so nope. Okay, it works now.
Yeah.
So it was and it was interesting that when this situation started, so the most popular quote in our country was that never waste a good crisis. And in fact, it was like Niccolo Machiavelli in the 16th century used to say for the first time. But I like more the interpretation of this idea from American politician Rahm Emanuel. So you never let a serious crisis go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things you think you couldn't do before. And this was a very important point of view and mindset that yes, we have to do something differently. And maybe we would not do it without this crisis, but now we have to do it. And if before this crisis, there were quite a lot of people in our country who said that why do we need these ICT things and so on, we can live without them. So now they had to think again. So, and in our country, the emergency situation was declared on March of 13th. It was Friday, and schools were closed, school buildings were closed on Monday. So our school had only one day to be prepared for the new situation. And we said that learning will be at home via e-environments, so remote learning. And the question was that, are we ready for that? And we had some conditions and some things that could give us the possibility to answer that, yes, we are ready. First of all was that autonomy of schools and teachers. So teachers in schools can decide about the form of learning. The only compulsory thing is learning outcomes. How you reach them, it's up to school. The second thing is flexible national curricula. Our learning, it found its place within the national curricula. So we didn't have to issue some new regulations for that. So it was there already. And the third one is e-solutions in education. So we had online databases, digital learning materials, digital learning environments. We started from 1996. We had so-called Tiger Leap. And in fact, by the end of 90s and in the end of 2000s, almost all schools had internet connection. So, and in fact, it is interesting that ICT in education, it was like a promoter for our economy in whole. So what we are now, what is Estonia about now, it's e-country. So, and we are very proud of that. But the promoter was education, as railways were a promoter of American education in 19th century. In our case, it was education. And as I told you, that the successful remote learning is possible only in collaboration among state, schools, teachers, students, and parents. So, and from the very beginning, we started to prepare helping materials, so recommendations, and from the Ministry of Education and Research, of course, they have to prepare some regulations, especially it was about examinations, and then some changes in our law, but basically we had all these regulations, so they were not very fundamental. And of course, as you see, this is the website of our ministry, so they have very many ways to support teachers. So as I said, that recommendation, even online trainings, they prepared with other organizations. For example, this is the here are only two examples. One is this live lesson. It was today in the morning. So we have a series of these kind of lessons, and the title is "How did you go with internet today?" So, and they are regularly provided by the ministry, organized by the ministry. Not the presenters are different, but today, for example, the topic was bullying, internet bullying. So we have to remember that again, this situation is not only about ICT. All other problems are here, so we have to deal with them as well. So especially, I think that bullying is when our students or our children work with computer more, then the bullying problem could be even more serious. So we don't have to forget about them. And for example, I put two links. These are videos about coronavirus. So for the younger students and for the elder students, so they can take its 10 minutes video, so they have their almost all information about this coronavirus and how to prevent disease. So we have also Information Technology Foundation. It works under the supervision of the ministry, and they have made a lot of trainings, a lot of programs, and different recommendations. So again, this is you can visit this website and see what I don't have time to tell you in detail. So then our organization, Foundation Innove, we also worked with recommendation, methodological materials, webinars, trainings. Sometimes I heard that the teachers and parents that it is too much. So that it is sometimes for them, it is difficult to choose what is the most important thing. But at the same time, it is better if you can something drop off than if you feel that there is a lack of something. So, and as you see here, this webpage shows that supporting parents. So we thought that it is very important, and one of the most important messages was that parents, remember, you are not teachers. You don't have to replace teachers. You have to support your students, but don't take away the teachers' jobs. So, and of course, universities. Universities, for example, again, here are only two examples. It's a lot of more. For example, University of Tartu, from the very beginning, it was maybe 15th of March, that they had 6 recommendations on how to support children learning. So University of Tallinn, they prepared web-based contact learning ABC. So it's a series of trainings. So again, it's a possibility to use for this university, Tallinn University program. It's for teachers to help them. And when we started, so what was the challenge? Challenge was that not every child has a computer. Sometimes 5 children in the same family and 1 computer. So, and it was a citizens' initiative. It was not from any officials, but it was a citizens' initiative, a computer for every school child. And everyone who had computers at home without using, so they had the possibility to take it, to give it away. For example, I had 2 computers, they were good. I didn't want to throw them away, but they were old, I didn't use them. So I had the possibility to give it to another families. So, and it was very easy. I had just to put it in the post box and write. They gave me, this organization gave me an address where I sent, and all the post costs were paid. So I just had to put it in the post box and put on the address. So, and the next day the computer was there. So it was very, very easy. And within the first months, 1,200 computers found new users. And for Estonia, it's a big number. So, and of course, we have some lack of computers now, and this program continues to work. Now it works under the Union of the Child Welfare, Estonian Union of the Child. They are leading this, but it started as a citizen initiative. Just 4 people decided that let's do it. And this another group, again, it's a civil society. Our teachers, our parents created a lot of Facebook groups. And as you see, so there are by subjects, by topics, and for example, remote learning parents, and almost every subject in every subject there were active teachers who wanted to start this Facebook group to help each other. So very often state maybe state didn't see some resources that teachers knew, and it was very good that when I speak about the crisis and readiness for crisis, it shows that our people were ready, because all these Facebook groups, they were created within first weeks. So 1 or 2 weeks. So teachers knew that, okay, this is the way we can communicate with each other. And this is the networking. So I think that all of these things are important to have a whole system. And of course, we are ready to share our experience internationally. For example, within the program Education Nation, we organize webinars, and the first one was in March 20, and they were keeping every Thursday. And today at 7 o'clock there will be the last one. But if you want, in fact, if you want to follow how our view to this crisis developed, so please watch these. They are in Facebook, and you can see them from the very beginning. So because we had every week in different topics, but you can also see how our attitudes, our thinkings changed within this crisis. So this is the if it is interesting for you, so you can follow this. So, and that's all what I wanted to tell you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Einar. Thank you. You touched upon so many very important things here. I think one of the most important thing is the need to start early. Some countries in Europe are privileged to have started this digital revolution a bit earlier than others. Maybe some of us can, get back in track faster, maybe. But on the other hand, I think one of the most important thing I will take from here is the importance of an ecosystem. And I think we don't talk enough about that. The fact that it's not necessarily only the responsibility of the Ministry of Local Authorities, but at the same time, there is a combination of factors that are important in this ecosystem, which are parents and how they are responding to the crisis, which is also how the civil society responds to the crisis, to different needs, either hardware or software. And sometimes the importance of having a business environment, a startup environment that is connected to the needs of education systems. So you have like local products, maybe in local language, that you can use in school when you don't have, the possibility to go international. But I think one of the most important thing, also an important thing you have touched upon, is the importance of, having guides, recommendations, like a very strong policy pillar built, maybe not before, but maybe built, throughout the crisis, which I think is really, really useful, because sometimes even with teachers, there are so many things that you can read, online, but sometimes it's really important to have a very strong set of recommendations from different actors and institutions. And Lucie, I would kindly ask you to help us understand a bit more about this in the Czech Republic, because, for example, with us too, this has been a very great topic. What type of policies you have put in place or were already in place? Like Einar said, the need to maybe work a bit on the education law and add some information about online education. Sometimes maybe that there was a need for that. And what was the, I don't know, the ecosystem of recommendations that you did for teachers?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I would like to stress the question of ecosystem or community, and just one comment regarding that is that we really could build upon what we had created before. And I have two examples, which is something like it is a project and it created like small regional and local communities. We call it cabineti, like cabinets. Yeah. So and it is focused on subjects, and the first one which was created was ICT cabinet or ICT. I don't know how to translate it. So we really could build upon that. For example, we were in the moment that we were looking for teachers that would present in the national television. We used that ecosystem and that system to look for these teachers who were able to go the next day, would go to the television and present, which is I think it was great. We have found some, I don't know, 100 teachers who are able to just go the next day to the television. So and that's the first example. And then the second example, that the structure that were built before is the national coalition. We have more than 200 members at the moment, and it was very easy for us to contact them and to collect activities which they were doing for to trying to ease the crisis. We have members like Microsoft, like Avast. I don't know if you know that company. It's a antivirus company. So this was something that we could build on. And regarding your question about the policies, well, it depends what you mean by that, because, for example, of course, we had to amend some laws and change some degrees. I would just mention the evaluation, regarding the evaluation, which was a must, the school leaving exam, and like entrance condition. These, and of course the university law. It was a quick university law amendment. And regarding the policies that were in place before, we have our digital education strategy, and from the beginning of the year, we were planning to focus on revision of the curricula for primary schools regarding the ICT. So it just quickened the process. For us, it's positive, because in that way, we don't have to explain why we have to do it so much that it would have happened without it. So I try to see positive sides of the crisis, and I totally agree with Einar that yeah, we have to really continue and learn our lesson, and not to go back before March.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was curious, what solution for the evaluation have you found within the system? So what did you recommend for evaluation?
Yeah, very, very interesting question. Thanks for that. Well, we changed the decree, which was like, which did not exclude the evaluation with numbers, like with notes. But in the manual that followed, we mentioned that the teachers should focus more on formative evaluation, words and feedback. So officially, it did not exclude the traditional way, but then it was recommended to focus more on the formative formative evaluation, and of course webinars and manuals followed afterwards.
Okay, thank you for this. It's a very interesting perspective. As evaluation, I think it's one of the very hard things to knock in the middle of any educational system, and it has been really complicated to deal with during this period, when you have to invent other ways to evaluate and not necessarily go to the traditional way. Jacob, we have discussed a lot about policies, and we have discussed a lot about I have heard digital strategy and national digital strategy and European digital strategy a couple of times until now. I know that we are a bit behind on our own digital strategy and education, but hopefully we will hurry the process now. So how do you see it from a European level? How prepared are we in terms of digital strategies and policies? How prepared are we in terms of joint projects to work together to solve this type of crisis?
Yeah, I mean, luckily in Europe overall, we had already some existing initiatives that were very helpful during this crisis. They range from the school education gateway. Many probably viewers will know eTwinning, up to the platform that helps teachers, for example, to use Moodle or any other tools that are useful for really conducting the learning experience all online. What I wanted to mention is Code Week, because this is also why I am wearing the t-shirt, the orange t-shirt, and now you can see some slides, because Code Week is a big bottom-up grassroots initiative. It's a kind of a pan-European movement, which helps to bring coding and computational thinking in general to people, and especially to young people, because our objective is really to reach equally the population in Europe. And why I'm mentioning it, because I think it's a very good example also of a European initiative that immediately reacted to the situation. We tried to really not to wait any second, basically, and we immediately, the first or the second week of the lockdown, we started to organize webinars. And I agree with both other panelists that the webinars are a very important element of any action, because through these webinars we gave space to good practices, and we also were able to discuss within the Code Week community on what to do and how to bring coding to even more people with this situation. We were lucky enough to have all the resources, so we were reusing them, and there is a big library of resources available in all the languages. So this is also a very important element of many European initiatives, that if something is good and working in one country, then the European element is that we are able to translate that, and we are able to really pass it and share it with others in other countries. So the library is very big, and I encourage everyone to check it out. Later on, we also realized that this is not enough, and we need more. So we decided to organize to prepare what we call coding at home videos, and maybe Anna, you can push to the other slide, where yes, this is it. So at this moment we have 6 videos that help to explain coding and computational thinking in a very fun and engaging way, and it's both for teachers and parents, very useful materials to use them and to play them with kids at home. And if you can go, Anna, to the last slide there. We really thought that this collaboration is important, and that's why now we will have the 6th webinar already in the series. We have also started a massive open online course for teachers that if they want to learn how to introduce coding in their activities and in their classroom, in their virtual classroom, basically, this nano MOOC or this massive open online course will help them. Now, in general, I think this is one concrete example, and from the EU there are many of these. The important thing, of course, is the involvement of all the stakeholders, all the partners on the national level. So I'm very happy that indeed with Lucie from the Czech Republic, or with many others, we were able to really establish a working relation. And I think what Lucie mentioned also, the national coalitions for digital skills and jobs were very important, because not only in the Czech Republic, but also in Slovakia, Spain, Belgium, Italy, I mean, all over Europe, Croatia, there were these national coalitions, which are groups of stakeholders, organizations, companies, but also government institutions. They really joined together, started to work together to address and offer solutions. And we were also able to exchange these good practices between the national coalitions. So we again organized webinars with these national coalitions where everyone got space to share the experience and share the good practice. Now, last thing about the policy. I guess you might be familiar with what is called the European Digital Education Action Plan, which is basically the Europe strategy towards education, and to make education in Europe a little more digital. And there are several pillars of this. First is the making a better use of digital technology in schools. And there you have connectivity in schools. You have also the selfie tool, which is basically a tool where a school, a teacher, or a student can test how digitally prepared the school or the institution is. The second pillar of this strategy is the digital competencies and skills, where I also already mentioned that the need for kids, but especially teachers, to have the digital skills and to have the right digital competencies. Also, for example, in areas such as cybersecurity, such as artificial intelligence. And there, for example, Code Week is one part of this strategy, but there are many other actions. And then there is also another pillar, which is on improving education through better data analysis and foresight. Now, this digital education action plan was published already several years ago, or we adopted it. And basically already since September or October, we have clear political guideline that we are working on an update of this digital education action plan. And this work has been done continuously, and it was supposed to be presented, I think, already in May. But of course, this coronavirus situation entered in March. And so we had to adapt. And now basically it's the last stage when we are adapting the digital education action plan, the new version of it, adapting to the new reality. And both the president of the European Commission, von der Leyen, and also the commissioners, Gabriel, who is from Bulgaria, and the commissioner Breton from France, they are very much keen on having this strategy published soon, because this strategy will help to adapt the education systems into the new reality, help to equip schools with better connectivity, but also with better technologies, and will also help teachers to gain the necessary digital skills. So this will be a direct policy response to the crisis, which of course the policy response was already being prepared and being updated before, but now things of course are sped up and are moving in a faster pace.
Yeah, I think we have discussed a lot in Europe about digital literacy and digital skills, but I don't think we have ever, really understood the importance of it maybe until now, and how important are not only for students, but also especially for teachers. What I've seen, for example, in Romania, that I think COVID-19 has made teachers training really important again, not only from a technical perspective, but also from a pedagogical perspective. I think everybody realized how important the pedagogy of technology really is. And what you have told us kind of confirms that this is the way, the conversation is going everywhere.
If I may add one more thing to this, definitely teachers need to be confident. And it's not, I think many teachers actually do have the digital skills at some level, but they need to, of course, get the proper training and also feel a little bit more confident. Because I can imagine that if you are a teacher and you know that all your class has smartphones and they know how to use them and they are everyday users, and you now need to start explaining them something about the technology, you might not feel confident 100%. So the confidence of teacher is important. And I also think that this crisis is also showing to the parents that when their kids use computers and tools, digital tools, they are not just playing games or posting pictures on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok videos. That actually,
That's true.
That actually, like, for the first time, I think, or not of course not all for all the families, but for many families, for the first time they see and they realize the potential of digital technologies, how beneficial they can be it video conferencing, be it the online exams, but being also the peer-to-peer learning, you know, that the students can form their working groups and work on projects together. And the technologies enable that very, very well. Of course, you know, all the users and everyone who is involved in the system needs to be aware of the risks. But I think that it's really, we are really still at the beginning of this change. And I think really we will see it in a couple of months, that at the end, maybe we don't need to force the kids to stay in school 9 hours per day, because they now are learning also how to use these technologies, and they will be able to work together remotely. And also they will have the support from their parents, because they will see that actually this way it works. I don't think that computers and online education will completely replace the classic classroom, of course not, but it will be an important element that would add to the learning experience. And it would also, one last point for me, it would also prepare the kids for their future jobs. Because you see us, you know, we are working remotely. Many people work from home. Many people need to learn how to collaborate remotely. And why would we be preparing kids, you know, in just physically, if this reality is happening now? So I think this is also an opportunity for them to start learning how to work in this digital environment.
You have very rightly anticipated basically the next area of topics we wanted to address. So finding a bit of silver lining in all this situation. Okay, what do we need to keep? What do we think were the good lessons from this period? And Lucie, I would start with you to ask you, what do you think made, for example, in this period, the biggest difference in your system, in the Czech Republic system, in a good way? And what are you expecting, you know, to be the lessons going further?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we started the process of revision of the curricula this year. At the beginning, we had a plan, and basically, this crisis saved us like 3 or 4 months of work. So we had so much done, really. So that's why I take it rather positively, even though I know there were a lot of challenges. But it's good because it really showed us what we don't know. We at the moment we know that we must focus on better data. Maybe we found a better way to collect information. For example, in April, the 1st of April, the Czech Inspectorate started broad questionnaire of schools. So we had like 4,000 schools questioned. So this survey was really, really helpful for us, and it gave us overall idea what really happened. So now we have some data from different projects, and we have to put them together and make an analysis from that, and to come out with some recommendations. and what to do next. What I see as really crucial is that we need to have a roadmap or a checklist what to do next. Once schools are closed, this person, initiative will do that. This initiative, this organization will do that, and like that we can ensure that everyone who is supposed to talk with each other are talking and coming up with some plans and some activities. So that is for me the main lesson. And I also what I'm also grateful for is that we are looking a bit differently on the role of teacher. Now we see that it is possible that the teacher is a guide through the education process, which is what he or she is supposed to be in our view, in the modern pedagogy view. So I am grateful that this discussion opened, and then maybe this is really in the beginning, but maybe we will have like we at work have 2 days of the week or 1 day of the week on home office. Maybe kids will have that too. So I'm really grateful for these discussions to happen, and I'm looking forward what it will bring.
Elena, please unmute yourself.
That's a beginner's mistake. I'm sorry. So Einar was saying, has this situation changed in any way your view around digital education and digital learning? What do you think, is the most critical for an educational system to successfully cope with such a disruption of learning like it was in this month?
Estonia, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say that this crisis showed us that some decisions we made before, they were correct. We made good decisions. The first one was that from the very beginning, we didn't take ICT as a compulsory lesson or as a separate lesson. Mm-hmm. It's a cross-curriculum topic. It's we took it as a tool. Yes, schools have a possibility to keep it as a separate lesson, but the idea was that ICT is a tool and we have to use it in every subject. So, and I think that it was very, very good decision, because in this situation like it was now, so it was not so painful to start using ICT in separate subjects or in different subjects. And I think that it was a very good decisions from the very beginning, from the 1996 when we started with that. Another thing is that I think maybe because of PISA, we started to pay more attention to problem solving. We are good in PISA, and PISA tasks are connected to problem solving. And I think that it is also, it was some kind of support for us, because our students and our teachers were ready to solve problems. We never know what will be the next problems, but readiness to solve them, it is very important. And I think that it was also right decision from that time. And if to speak what will be the next, I don't know. We have to analyze, we have to look through these processes and collect data and so on. And our universities already work with that. But from my point of view, there are some points that we have to remember. The first one is that maybe now we will understand that the learning is not only sitting in the classroom. Homework is also learning, because in our country now, it's according to our law, it's working students with teacher together at the same time and in the same environment. Is it a classroom or internet? But in fact, independent work of students, it's also learning. So, and I think that this crisis showed it very well, that students are able to work independently. And then for some students, for example, today in this live lesson, I heard that some students said that I started to like school within these 2 months, because this remote learning is good for them. I think that maybe it means that our school system should be even more flexible. I say that this remote learning is a tool to provide equal education through all the country, because you can give a lesson of good teacher not only in this classroom, but via internet in other cities, in other towns. And I think that maybe it will be also some kind of solution for the lack of teachers, so that we don't have to have a teacher in every classroom. So these e-learnings, if we use them correctly and if we know how to use them, so in that case it will help us to solve this problem also. So I would say that we have many topics to think, not just about crisis, not just about e-learning, but other topics which are school democracy, for example, how to solve and how to deal with that. So I think that we have many things to think in the future.
Yeah, the main insight being that probably maybe it's time to reassess a bit how we think about our educational system and what do we think about learning, basically. How do we define learning and how do we define the educational system? Rather more in a flexible way and not in a 18th century industrialized way, like until now. So, Jakub, any thoughts to end this, like in a very high European note?
I don't think we are so high. I mean, we are. I think we need to look at this as a bottom-up approach.
Yeah,
but one more thing. One thing that I wanted to flag, that I definitely agree with Einar on this coding as a tool and ICT as a tool, because this is shown, and this is what we are also with Code Week very much pushing the message that it's not about just learning to code because you should learn how to code. It's much more about providing coding and computational thinking and logical thinking as a tool for all the other subjects. But to wrap up this, I think first, digital skills are a must. That's clear now, and we really need to work on this, because we are not yet at the state when people all across generation have enough digital skills, because this is not only about learning at school, but it's also the lifelong learning. I mean, you need much more digital skills in today's jobs, and in future there will be basically all the jobs, or 90% of jobs, that will require some digital skills. So that's the first element for sure. Second, we need to work together. I think the motto of the EU, united in diversity, is exactly what needs to happen here. So we have our different systems, different approaches. That's very, very well and fine. But we need to share the good practices. We need to exchange. This is what we are doing now, and we need to continue doing it, learning from each other. And I think the third element, which we also touched upon here today, is the role of the communities and really the bottom up. And I would say that Code Week again is the exact example. I mean, big thanks to TechSoup Romania for being such a support also for Code Week, because we are, we see the impact, and we see that the community, the Code Week community, with all the ambassadors that we have in each country, and Anna is one of the ambassadors, that this really plays a difference, because and no European initiative will be successful if it does not have people on the ground who basically will will help to spread and will help to implement whatever we agree. And we should not be agreeing it ourselves in Brussels. It should be the other way around. We should meet together, discuss what needs to be done, see what are the challenges for all the countries, because there will be different challenges in Spain and different in Romania and different in Sweden, and then come up with actions together. So I think really communities working together, meeting regularly, this is exactly what will help us to turn this crisis into the opportunity and to make the most out of it and the best of it.
Oh, thank you, Jacob, for this ending on a high note. A huge thank you to all our guests for helping us collect such great insights and ideas to follow up upon. I will just add here and put here the importance of an ecosystem and in the importance of many actors working together on both policy level but also on practice level, the importance of training the teachers and taking digital skills as seriously as possible, the importance of treating technology as a means and discuss about the pedagogy of technology and the pedagogy of learning and technology in the context of learning, and approach it as such, not necessarily as an end to itself. So thank you so much for today, for sharing with us all these great insights. Thank you also to our viewers. This has been Conferințele Școala pe Net, episode 2. So stay tuned to our Facebook pages for more amazing news about our work. And we'll get back to you with new ideas and activities next week. Thank you so much. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care. Thanks.
Bye.